when chefs are like, oh, no, you have to do it this way. I'm like, no, you get to play with your food. You get to have fun and you get to create it for yourself and anybody you're cooking for. It doesn't have to be the way that even I say it should be. It's like, I love when people send me notes and say, well, I added this recipe. And I'm like, wow, I should have thought of that. That's amazing. So again, it's playing with it and finding what really works for you.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friend, welcome back to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm Jenn Trepic, your host and health coach, here with you every week for wellness without the weirdness. Now, if you're a longtime listener, you know that it is not often that I have a full fridge of groceries. I have also been known to say I don't cook, but I make food. And admittedly, I'm not particularly creative all the time. Like, I tend to just roast everything and stick to meals that involve like one sheet in the oven, right? Simple, easy, and it's just me. But that's why I'm excited for today's episode, because she's going to help us all get a little more creative with plants in our cooking without having to like completely overhaul and, feel like we're using every pot and pan in the house. So let me introduce you. She's a Hollywood caterer, highly acclaimed chef, and food enthusiast with over 20 years of culinary experience. She's known for her innovative and sustainable approach to plant-based cuisine. She's passionate about creating delicious meals that are good for both people and the planet. She and her work have been featured in top culinary publications and TV shows. She continues to inspire food lovers around the world with her knowledge, expertise, and creative recipes. She believes plant-based cooking is not just a trend, but a lifestyle that promotes health, ethical consciousness, and a greener planet. So help me with a big, warm salad with a side of fries. Welcome to Gwen Kenneally.
Hello, hello.
Welcome. I'm thrilled you're here. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm thrilled to be here too.
Good, good. So we're going to start with your story after we tell our members what they're getting this week. So members, your recipe this week is thanks to Gwen, our featured guest. It's for her Krabby Jack cakes with red pepper sauce. These are essentially like plant-based crab cakes made from jackfruit, right?
Yes, correct.
I love it. Tell everybody why you chose this recipe to send to our members.
Well, because so many of the recipes in the book are really great plant-based, but there's a little section that's more specialty. And, when I show up with the Krabby Jacks, people go crazy because, if you're not eating meat and you haven't had crab cakes in years and years and years, to have something that's similar, that brings back those floods of memories or, so I try to do that. Somebody who's recently plant-based and I'm working with them, I'll always try and find stuff that they loved, when they were eating everything and see if I can come up with something. Not necessary. I hate like, oh, this tastes just like a burger. No, it doesn't. But it tastes like a great black bean and let's zhuzh it up so it tastes amazing. So, it's like, so I chose that one.
So these are an awesome version of a crab cake.
Yeah. And they're very, very popular, both with my catering clients, private chef clients, and with the readers of the Plantastic Cookbook.
Amazing. So friends, if you want this recipe, be sure you're a member. Go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. For $10 a month, you get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners and guests, plus access to live Q&A sessions. It's a total deal. I say it all the time. It's a steal because when you take advantage of the full offerings, you're going to save far more than that $10 cost. It's seriously a no-brainer way to show yourself that your health is a priority. Plus, being a member supports this podcast and this community so we can continue to bring you new episodes every single week. So remember, all you have to do is head over to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries or click the link in the episode notes because then you don't have to remember a whole thing. Once you're there, you click the little I agree and then support now, enter your email and payment info, click subscribe, and you're all set. You'll get this week's recipe for Gwen's Krabby Jack cakes with red pepper sauce. Again, that's from our featured guest this week, Gwen Kenneally's cookbook, The Plantastic Cookbook. Okay, Gwen,
let's start with your story and what led you to not just becoming a chef, but to focusing on, vegetarian, vegan, plant-based cooking.
Well, I got a lot of attention when I cooked. I have three brothers, and all of their friends I got a lot of attention. Nobody would date me because I had three brothers, but I got a lot of attention. So I started baking mainly and doing kind of fun things. And then I started cooking because I love to eat. And, when you're in college and you love to eat, it's like, oh, mom's not here.
Right.
So, so I started cooking, and it's I just have a knack for it. It was very easy for me. I loved creating. Some of my friends were painting and doing all kinds of music making and stuff, and I was doing my creative stuff in the kitchen. So over the years, as I was catering and doing events, and of course I live in Southern California, so it was all of a sudden it would be like, oh, my sister, she's kind of eats like a rabbit. She doesn't eat like real food. She eats like rabbit food. I'd be like, whoa, interesting. So
Yep.
it would be like, we have to, come up with things. I mean, I had one Thanksgiving where the family was going to get up when the turkey was served, and because they just were the vegans that could not even be around meat. And, and I think that by the end of it, when they saw how much great vegan food, so it was basically a completely plant-based menu with a turkey and a ham on the side. And when they saw how well they were taken care of, they ended up not leaving because it wasn't that it was offensive, but it was like when meat came out, they never felt like they were being taken care of. So I think I really learned a lot from that. It's really important to make sure everybody that you're cooking for feels like you're taking care of them. And who doesn't love veggies? I mean, who doesn't love great plant-based food? I mean, if it tastes good, everybody loves it.
Well, I think that's the sticking point, right? And this story of, this big, holiday meal is it reminds me, I think people treat the meat as the heart of the entire thing and the vegetables become the afterthought. And so what I'm hearing you did there is give the vegetables their due.
Exactly, 100%.
So Plantastic Cooking is your fourth cookbook. And I know sort of a lot of these things can be like science experiments, right? Like when you want to add more plants or just recipes, like there's usually a lot of, failed science experiments, right?
Uh-huh.
So,
oh yeah. That's my poor daughter.
So that's part of what I appreciate, right? Yeah. So I am beyond grateful. I think we are all beyond grateful that you did the experiment so we don't have to. Right. And, I am a curator of recipes, whether it's for my members, a newsletter, my Facebook group, that kind of stuff. And I can say even from that, I think so many of the plant-based recipes are super complicated. And by that token, like I won't even recommend them because they're so complex.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said it also in the beginning that I'm super basic and I'm like, I'll just end up roasting everything, right? So What are some of the things that we can do that are still simple, but go beyond just like roasting or steaming vegetables?
Well, there's many things. I mean, first of all, grilling is a wonderful option, especially in the heat of the summer right now, going into fall. Grilled vegetable just is divine. And again, makes you part of the barbecue or the festivities of, this event. I mean, I think that a lot of times when people go to these events, they don't feel like they're being taken care of. So grilling, roasting's always great. Steaming, I'm not a huge fan of. It's pretty bland to me. So I would always opt for, and raw. I love raw vegetables, and I love, chopping them fine and putting them in a big salad, and the texture of the different vegetables is really great. Some, like eggplant, you're not going to want to eat raw, but other things, mostly vegetables are really delicious raw. And I think too, it's in the preparation. Even if you add a nice sauce or you add a nice, nice seasoning, or add ginger and garlic and all kinds of different things, that gives a whole new level to, a stir fry is fantastic, the quick hot preparation, so there's so many things you can do to make it not bland, not boring, and not boiled, and not our mama's vegetables.
Right, for sure. So I love what you were saying about even like, adding ginger or some, like, what are some of the other herbs and spices that you think people are overlooking?
Well, I think, of course, basil. I'm a huge fan of thyme, rosemary. The little pearl onions are really fun to kind of mix in. Anything. I think any herbs are really great. If you do fennel and do a little anise, you've got like a double licorice thing going. I mean, there's so many great things and combinations. And, I'm a huge ginger fan. Ginger is so good for you. And I think that it makes any vegetable better.
Yeah. So like you're talking about these combinations, and for you, they're so second nature, right? For a lot of people, it's okay, well, ginger with what? And like you were saying, the fennel and the anise together are sort of similar profiles versus, ginger and garlic that are both potent, but maybe different profile. Like, how do we want to think about combining these things?
Well, I think ginger and garlic go together like the best blend. And I think that any sort of fresh herb can kind of go together with good olive oil. And I think that, again, everybody likes different things. So you play with it. And if you love rosemary, you have a rosemary bush outside and you love it, then throw it in with your vegetables. If you love basil, if you love thyme, if you love, whatever, dill is great with vegetables. So there's so many different types, and it's really about playing. And that's what I love. I love to play in the kitchen. And I think if you're not so worried about how it's going to turn out, and like, I'm going to try it with dill this time. And you might go, well, I liked it better with rosemary. Then and then you do rosemary the next time. I think that sometimes we take it so seriously and we're so afraid of, well, what if I don't do it right? Well, the chocolate chip cookie was invented by mistake. So there's a lot of food that you make wrong, and it's like, wow, this is really good. So you just give yourself permission to play,
Yeah, I love that. And the other thing you were talking about, even in terms of making a salad, was like the different textures of the vegetables. And I know there are so many people, again, because we've grown up maybe in a way where it was vegetables cooked to smithereens,
right?
Mashed peas and carrots or whatever, So I know a lot of people who are sort of like, they have different textures. Like, what do you even mean? Right? So what are some combinations or examples of how even combining some of the different vegetables, even in a salad, can help make it more interesting?
Yeah, well, the great thing with salads is it can be anything. Even if you have 4 different lettuces, they all have different textures, right? So then you throw in, I like to grate beets and carrots. You can grate, you can chop, you can do whatever. If you want it super crunchy, if you want it a little less, if you want it more elegant, if you're doing like a side salad, you can sprinkle something on top.
Tell us what that is. So like if we want it less crunchy, we're grating, you're saying?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you want to chew less, because the grated is like little slivers. And then the chopped would be little squares maybe, or you could do like little half circles, half moons, So again, there's so many options, and there's no right or wrong way. When chefs are like, oh, no, you have to do it this way. I'm like, no, you get to play with your food. You get to have fun, and you get to create it for yourself and anybody you're cooking for. It doesn't have to be the way that even I say it should be. It's like, I love when people send me notes and say, well, I added this recipe. And I'm like, wow, I should have thought of that. That's amazing. So again, it's playing with it and finding what really works for you. Because I've had people say to me, well, I just don't like vegetables. And I'm like, okay, but there's got to be one vegetable that you like. There's got to be something. I mean, that's a big,
And then what's next, right? So you say, okay, there's one vegetable that you like. Like, let's say, making it up. Let's say it's carrots.
Right. I can
Right.
tolerate
Where do you
carrots.
go from there with them? Yeah.
Well, then I would find out some of the stuff that they really love. If they say, well, I really love basil and I really love a little nuttiness, and I might say, oh, let's do roast carrots and pesto sauce. And then maybe too, just by changing the preparation a little bit, maybe they've only had over steamed carrots or the peas and carrots, the little squares that, our grandmothers used to serve. And that's their
Yep.
experience, right? So it's like, if you can tweak it to something that you love, then you can say, wow, I do like carrots done this way. And then you start expanding, And then, oh, you like that? Well, maybe you'd like my carrot cake too. Oh, now you can just start eating carrots, carrots, carrots. We'll get carrots into everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's such a good point of saying like how we've had them prepared when we've said that we don't like something.
Right.
Is such a great point because we can then start to have them different ways, like grilled and roasted and stir fried, like you were talking about before.
Right.
So I want to dig deeper into some of this stuff and talk about some of the like polarizing foods that people tend to have like love hates with. Because I have a theory that all of that love hate is similar to what we're talking about in that it's how they're prepared, or maybe we don't know the best way to do something with them. And so it leads us to saying we don't like this. So I want to get into all that really quick, a quick break to highlight our partner for this episode.
Okay.
Big thanks to Lumiere de Vie Skincare for supporting Salad with a Side of Fries. Lumiere de Vie was founded by Amber Ridinger McLaughlin in response to her own experience of mere marginal results from countless costly creams. She realized the revitalization of her youthful skin could only occur if she developed products herself. Working closely with beauty scientists and exploring the most advanced ingredients derived from the earth and sea, Amber created Lumiere de Vie, the next generation of skincare. The extensive line of luxury skincare products are designed to address all skin types and concerns with the highest quality natural ingredients and powerful formulas that help heal, soothe, moisturize, and protect. Lumiere de Vie acts as first aid for your skin. The result is rejuvenated, luminous, beautiful looking skin. So today we're talking about cooking with more plants, and just like with our nutrition, right? Ingredients matter. So too is the case with your skincare. And that's one of the many things that I love about Lumiere de Vie. I think the easiest place to start is probably with their skincare value kit. It gives you the cleanser, toner, and moisturizer for just $125. The men's kit is $90. These are just tremendous values for the ingredients in these products. And I also love the intensive hand and body cream, which is just $34.95. I'm obsessed with all the serums. Like, poke around the website. You'll find a serum for exactly how you want to support your skin. And because you're a Salad with a Side of Fries listener, you get 10% off your order and free shipping. So text the word SKIN, SKIN, to 844-947-4846. You'll receive the link and coupon code right to your phone. Again, simply text the word SKIN, SKIN, to 844-947-4846 to try Lumiere de Vie Skincare at 10% off and free shipping. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply. Okay, Gwen. So I was saying, polarizing ingredients. And I'm not even talking about like obscure ones. I'm even thinking of things like that people could find at their everyday grocery store that they're going, I don't like this. But I have a theory that it's because they don't really know what to do with them. So one of the ones I hear about all the time is kale, right? Mm-hmm. People are like, it's tough. I don't like it. I don't get why other people like it. Tell us what to do with kale so that it's not so chewy.
Okay, so the first thing is you want to make sure you take it off the stem. People, obviously, they're cutting the whole thing with the stem, and then you get the stem, and it's like, oh. So you pull it off the stem, and then if you're going to eat it raw, you chop it pretty finely. And I think if you chop it finely and mix it in a salad or mix it however, that really helps. And I am, again, a big proponent of stir fry. You just throw it with some garlic and ginger and whatever fresh herbs you like. Heat the oil super hot. Use like either a peanut oil or oil that supports high heat. And
like an avocado
oil. A little bit. Yeah, like avocado oil. And just stir fry it up, and you've got great flavor profile and a great dish. And There's also, if you're eating the kale raw, you need to massage it. Kale needs a little love. So if you massage the kale, it breaks all the fibrous pieces and it just gets so much easier to chew and to eat.
And when you massage it, are you putting anything on it? Like some people use oil, but do you have to?
No, I don't think so. You can, of course, for sure, but you don't need to. If you're trying not to use a lot of oil, you could use a little lemon juice or you could just do it by itself.
Excellent. And then another one. So mushrooms is the other one that I hear.
Oh, yes.
I didn't like mushrooms as a kid. I started to like them when I was older, and it started with just eating raw button mushrooms in a salad because I felt like they then had like no flavor. And then I sort of grew to like other mushrooms. But that was a very personal experiment. Like, what do you recommend for people with mushrooms?
Well, again, it's in preparation. I think mushrooms are pretty inoffensive because they don't have a lot of flavor. And again, in the salad, when they're raw, they're pretty easy to just kind of mush in with everything else. A little bit olive oil and garlic again is great to saute them. Again, play. The fresh herbs, whatever you like, I think with a good quality olive oil is always going to make a sauteed vegetable better.
And then do you think there are certain kinds of mushrooms that are easier or less potent in flavor than others?
Well, I think that they all have different flavors. I think the little button mushrooms are kind of the most inoffensive. I love the oyster mushrooms and the shiitake mushrooms and the portobello mushrooms. Oh, a great sandwich. Portobello, it's like, it just is divine. So again, it's like experiment and play because every mushroom's got to have a different flavor. And sometimes it's fun to do like 3 or 4 mushroom. We have a mushroom guy at our farmer's market, and we will sometimes just get a little bit of everything and kind of do side by sides and like, oh, this one's amazing. This one's kind of dirty tasting. And this one, whatever. So it can be really fun.
Yeah. What are some, like cabbage is coming to mind, but I feel like cabbage is maybe kind of similar to kale.
Yeah, cabbage is amazing. And cabbage, I love cabbage raw. I love cabbage cooked. I just love cabbage. But I have a friend who absolutely hates cabbage. So I kind of, when she comes for dinner, if I'm doing something with cabbage, I have to kind of sneak it in. But again, there's all kinds of cabbage. There's the red, the green, there's Napa cabbage, which has a totally different consistency than cabbage. Again, it's in preparation and chopping it very small if you're going to eat it raw. And, cooking it if you don't like the texture or the density of it, cooking it well and enjoying it. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Any other polarizing foods that you can think of?
Beets. Many people, their first experience of beets is canned beets. I know mine was. I was like, they're slimy. I'd like them, except they're slimy. And then I had a beet and oh my goodness. So even if you peel your beets and steam them yourself, they have such a great, and you can even, if you get the small ones, right, put them in a jar with vinegar and oil. And so it kind of emulates the canned beet flavor profile. And if that's something you like, but you'll be so much happier when you're eating a beet that's like truly, and there's golden beets, there's red beets, there are candy cane beets. So there's a whole variety of beets. But I will recommend cooking them separately when you cook them because there's red beets anywhere. It all bleeds in and all of your beautiful beets end up being red. You're like, what happened?
Yeah, be careful. Wear gloves. Like all of the gloves that we have left over from like COVID times, right? Like it stinks.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
And then you were talking about a minute ago, you were talking about, your farmer's market. And I think they can be great. They're not necessarily accessible to everybody all the time. I know a lot of our listeners are shopping at like major, like big brand, like grocery stores, right? Or maybe even Costco. So what are some of the foods that you recommend keeping as like staples in the house that are super versatile, easy to use, and maybe, people just don't realize?
Well, any of your summer squashes this time of year, of course, are, you can do so much with them. You could do, salads, you can saute, you can do breads, you can do desserts, any sort of avocados. Those have got a really good profile that you can do a lot of different things with. In the book, I think we have the chocolate avocado pudding, which is really wonderful. I shop at Costco a lot. I think, Costco's got some great vegetable. Again, we're in California, so I don't know if it's different, but I think that now from the people that I've talked to that live in other places, they're getting more access to different wonderful fresh vegetables, and I know
Yeah,
one
for
friend who
sure.
lives upstate New York, is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. But again, it's pricey, right? And so you want to be able to include everybody. So that's why I'm a big proponent of finding, you know what, everybody can get carrots. Let's find some unique and fun ways to create carrots or peas or any of the stuff that's, really easily accessible to everybody.
Yeah, one of those I know that you're a big fan of too is quinoa,
Oh, yeah.
right? And quinoa, I think people often think of as sort of like one thing, like you do the quinoa instead of rice or whatever. What are some creative things for quinoa?
Well, one of them would be a breakfast quinoa, which is I do with a maple vinaigrette and lots of dried fruits, dried ginger. So you have a big flavor profile. I think quinoa, yeah, can be substituted for rice, but it's also a protein in its own right. So it's really good for plant-based eating because it does act as a protein. And, you know, salads make it like a rice. There's so many things that you can do with quinoa. It's just really remarkable. Little quinoa cakes, little different kinds of things that are just delicious.
Yeah, when you make a quinoa cake, what are you using to bind it together?
Usually I use flaxseed oil. I use all different kinds of stuff. The flaxseed is a miracle binder, by the way. 1 tablespoon flaxseed ground. So you can buy the seeds and grind them if you have a little coffee grinder or whatever, or you can buy it ground already at really everywhere now. It used to be just Whole Foods, but now you can get it at Trader Joe's, you can get it at Ralph's, those are California stores.
Yeah.
But you grind it and you do 1 tablespoon flaxseed, 3 tablespoons water, and it acts as a binding agent, almost duplicates an egg, which is fantastic for so many different recipes where you're like, wow, I don't need an egg for this. I can use this flax egg. So it's a good.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's called a flax egg for anybody out there who's like, wait, what was that? It's called a flax egg. And the recipe that you are giving our members uses jackfruit. So will you speak to a minute about jackfruit? And, I think it is available more places now than people realize, but like, how do they identify it and use it easily?
Well, some stores have it with baking goods for some reason, and some stores have it with the fruit. Jackfruit is a ginormous fruit that is from Asia. And when you cut it in half, it's got these little kind of crevices that the jackfruit is in. And it is so good for you and so delicious. And you can do so many wonderful things with it. So I think that if you're somewhere that you don't have a Whole Foods or you don't have access to, talk to your grocery store and say, can you order? Because so many big brands now are making canned jackfruit. And canned jackfruit is easier
and
to
it's
work
totally
with
fine to get it canned, right?
Totally, 100%. And it's so much more easily accessible because if you go to an Asian market, you usually see the jackfruit. If you walk through produce in an Asian market, you're going to see stuff you don't recognize. I'm always pleasantly surprised because I'm like, what's that? I've never seen that before. But usually they sell a whole jackfruit, or sometimes they sell half of it like they do with melons. But the canned jackfruit is so much easier to work with, and it's really a delight. It's a delight. And, the Krabby Jacks are people who are not even plant-based eat them and love them.
Yeah, I think what's so appealing about the jackfruit is the texture is more like an animal protein kind of texture. And I've always had it shredded, right?
Right.
So what's the easiest way? We get it from the can and then what?
Food processor, if you have it. If not, you can, of course, do it by hand, but I just throw it in the food processor and it just like 3 times and it gets into that consistency and you're ready to go. And, I've also made it in chunks. I've done like fried buffalo fried jackfruit, which is really delicious and people love. And people say, oh, it tastes just like chicken. I don't think it tastes like chicken, but I think the way you prepare it tastes just like, it's like, it does taste like a buffalo chicken wing when it's actually a jackfruit wing.
Yeah, for sure. And so you just mentioned a food processor. Any other tools that you feel like are sort of the biggest bang for the buck and bang for the space as I live in New York City with a small kitchen?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, microplane for sure, which is the long grater that you can put it over a pot and grate your garlic and ginger right over it. That's a great tool. A good sharp knife. Invest a little money in a knife, because if you're chopping and prepping, nothing is better than a good knife. I like some of the peelers they have that you can do different, like for if you wanted to do like a summer squash salad peeled. So it's like ribbons, you can create ribbons. They have little teeny tiny food processors now. I have one that somebody gave me and I was like, why would you ever use this? It's so tiny, but I use it all the time because especially if it's just a couple of us for dinner, it's like super easy. And let's see, what else do I use a lot? I think just, mainly a good knife. And that's going to be a really big bang for especially in preparation of vegetables. Yeah. And the microplane, they also have like larger sizes. So you can grate, like if you want to grate different things for the salad, like the beets or the carrots or whatever. Jicama is also really good grated.
I love jicama.
I do too. It's so good.
Such a fresh taste, but also, like we were saying, sort of inoffensive. Like it's just crunchy.
Yeah, it's crunchy and just simple and delicious. And it's a great veg.
All right, so it's back to school season. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about what are some of the things that we can do to make it super easy or even like just sort of up the health quotient of family favorite recipes.
Well, I think that, if you're preparing lunches for the kids, especially, to make sure you add the little bag of carrots, a lot of fruits and veg. If you want to do a little something, whatever, a lot of schools now, you can't even bring cookies and stuff like that in anymore, which is kind of a great thing. But, packing a lot of things and, you'll see because you get the lunch back and you're like, oh, they didn't touch this, but you keep trying and eventually they're either eating it or trading it. All of a sudden it's like, oh, it's not there. Oh, but I think, the packing of a lunch that's got just a wide variety of fruit and veggies. I mean, we used to get a sandwich, a carrot, and an apple, but I think if you do lots more of little portions of lots of different things, you'll get them to start eating and trying. And if their friends are eating it, that's the best. If they see their friends eating something, they're like, I don't like carrot. Oh, you like carrot? Oh, well, let me try. Oh, I like it. Wow. Because we know kids, a lot of them, they don't even try before they decide they don't like it.
For sure. For sure. And are there any recipes in the Plantastic Cookbook that you would say make for like the easiest weeknight meals when everybody's short on time?
Yeah, well, the good thing about the Plantastic Cookbook is so much of it you could prepare on a Sunday afternoon. You could do a lot of your veg chopping. I used to go to the farmer's market on Sunday morning and then spend the afternoon chopping, prepping, and getting it all kind of together for the week. And I think that that's a really handy thing to do. And I also am a proponent of when you get back from the market, prep them, wash them and prep them and put them in a Tupperware or whatever kind of container you have. And that way they're done. Otherwise, they sit in the vegetable drawer until they wilt and get soft and go to vegetable heaven, which I have
right,
been
that's when you make the
guilty
soup,
of.
right?
Exactly. We're having soup. Mom, it's 100 degrees. We're having soup. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Gwen, wrapping this up, anything we missed or anything you want to add?
Well, I just think that if you look around, you can find great, fantastic recipes, in all categories, whether it be starters, entrees, desserts. We can all use more plants in our life. And I think that it's really important to just play and have fun and experiment and try new things. And if there's something you think you don't like, maybe revisit it, because maybe, again, it was in the preparation or a bad childhood memory.
For sure. For sure. Agreed. All right. So it's time for our rapid fire off topic questions that I ask every expert who joins us. Are you ready?
Okay, ready.
What's the best thing you've done for your health this week? What's the naughtiest thing you've done related to your health this week?
Well, watching the Olympics, I had some wine, and I guess that's kind of naughty. And I walk and I garden are the two things that I feel like mental health as well as physical health.
Love it. If you weren't a caterer and cookbook author, what would you do?
Wow. A race car driver.
Really?
I love driving fast. That's the big, I don't know. It's so funny. I have not really thought of that, but maybe a teacher, but I don't know what subject if I'm not teaching cooking.
Right. Favorite book on any topic other than your area of expertise, or you could give us a fiction book.
I just reread Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Not Eat, Pray, Love, but the one on marriage, Commitment, maybe. It's on marriage, which is beautiful. I'm also a big knitter, so it's called Friday Night Knitting Club. So I'm listening to that. Yeah, so I read all the time, and I listen on audiobooks all the time. So I got a handful of things going on. Yeah.
Love it. If you could cure one ailment, disease, or sickness, what would it be?
Depression. A lot of people suffer from depression. And I was always very flippant about it. Like somebody would be, oh, I'm so depressed. I'd be like, oh, go take a walk, go plant a seed, go do something, And now, especially with being a mom and, kind of experiencing more life, I see a lot of people who suffer from depression. And it really makes me very sad.
If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Finding love, helping people find love. Love of self, love of life, all kinds of love.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
People who are mean to each other, people who are mean. I don't like meanness. I like kindness.
I'm with you. All right, last one. In your opinion, what's the next frontier in wellness?
Well, I think people are going to, it's like, I feel like I live in California, so I have such a jaded kind of perception because so many people here are into health and wellness, and probably the same in New York. But I think that the next frontier of wellness it's going to be global. It's going to be people are going to realize that longevity and feeling great comes from eating and being physical and getting out and doing things. And I think that as we evolve, I think more and more and more people are going to jump on that bandwagon because it's really amazing that the difference between, how you feel by what you eat, by exercising a little bit, even taking a walk, you say hello to your neighbors, you look and you see flowers you've never seen. It just opens your mind,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Gwen Kenneally, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody how to connect with you, where to learn more, where to get the Plantastic Cookbook.
Plantastic Cookbook, Amazon is probably the easiest place to get it, although, I love to support local bookstores, and it's in quite a few of them throughout the country. So go to your local bookstore first, and then you can go to Amazon. Backtothekitchencatering.com is my website. And I'm on Instagram, Gwen Kenneally, on Facebook, Gwen Kenneally. Connect. Come on in. I'm happy to connect with everybody.
Absolutely. We'll put links to everything in the episode notes too. Thank you again for being here. Truly appreciate, your expertise and helping all of us with our Plantastic cooking.
Awesome. I'm so happy to be here. And send a note on Instagram if you have any more questions.
Perfect. All right, friends. On Friday, in this week's Nutrition Nugget bonus episode, we're talking about naked carbs. Maybe you've heard this phrase. It's been popping up a lot lately, so I figured we should talk about it here. So what does it mean? Is this new? Is this another fad? So we're going to tackle naked carbs in this week's bonus episode. Be sure wherever you're listening now, click the plus sign or the follow button, and then your app will alert you when the Nutrition Nugget bonus episode is live on Friday morning. As always, everybody, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideofries.com. Pick your platform, send a message. I want to hear from you. Truly, I want to hear your takeaways, your ideas, your questions. This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your health coach. Gwen Kenneally, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely.
Absolutely. And friends, if you are not already, join our membership program by going to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. This shows your support for this podcast, this community, and most importantly, it supports your health. You'll get this week's recipe for the Crappy Jack cakes with red pepper sauce from our featured guest, Gwen Kenneally's book, The Plantastic Cookbook. So until next week, remember, there is zero evidence that people would benefit from a 100% plant-based diet. But there is overwhelming evidence that 100% of people will benefit from adding more plants to their nutrition. Hopefully today, we made that a little bit easier for you.
Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.